Today is all about pros and cons of
living in Florida. There are some cons, but not very many. More pros, definitely more pros.
We're definitely a positive channel, but we want to show some negative. So please stay tuned to today's video. Okay, number one, mild winters.
Mild winters. So like, especially, this is when everybody is here, Christmas and New Year's, because the weather's spectacular. You know, it does get a little bit cool. I mean, it does get down in the 50s or 60s. You can wear
a jacket. Ooh.
Yeah, but you're definitely, you know, you can walk the beach on Christmas Day if you want to. You're probably not going to get in the water, but you can walk the beach.
Yeah, I will say, you know, y'all, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know, I'm from Wisconsin. And the first few winters I've lived here was so awkward because they would start hanging the Christmas lights and the New Year's, and I was like, this feels so weird. I see palm trees everywhere and I don't see white stuff everywhere.
It's also funny because when it drops below 70, everybody is immediately it looks like they're in Wisconsin
or Colorado or somewhere.
Right. It's really funny. It's funny to see.
And it's funny, you'll always notice the Floridians or the people that have lived here a long time versus the people coming for vacation. They're like,
they're in shorts and t-shirts,
bathing suits, hopping in the ocean, and you're just like, oh, you're definitely from Indiana.
Right.
So we love that, and we love to be here around that time of year.
Yep.
We travel out of state now, which would be, well, it would be a con, not to jump into the cons, but a con would be the summers.
Summers are really hot and really humid.
I would call it brutal.
Yeah. And I would even argue, you know, we lived in Vegas for a time, and it gets really hot out there, but without the humidity, it is different.
Bearable.
It's somewhat bearable, and you don't notice it as much here. It's just scorching. And
there were times when we've done video, because we do a lot of video outside, and by the time I leave, you can't see it, but I'm like, my whole back is sweaty.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then we've got to go to another appointment, and then you're going in from AC to heat to AC, which is not always best for the body. Right, even though I guess you acclimate over that.
A little bit, yeah.
Next up on our list is homestead and taxes. Number two would be, like we said, homestead and taxes, all the financial benefits. Yep. So let's start off with homestead.
So your homestead, you have a great homestead exemption here in the state of Florida, and there's also more protection. Like they do have homestead exemption, for example, in Illinois they had one, but you have more protection in Florida with your homestead. In Illinois, you got a tax benefit for your homestead, but if somebody sued you, that was still a liability they could go after.
Whereas in Florida,
you can't.
It's not, because your homestead is your home.
And it's a protected property. So that's an asset that if you were to lose a large lawsuit, or you had something, you know,
it's protected under Florida law.
It's protected.
But also, you have exemptions. So for me, like in my primary residence, I have up to 50,000 exemption. So the way it works, that wind came out of nowhere. The way it works is I have 50,000 off of the total taxable value. So the taxable value is not the same as like real estate value right now.
Right.
It's the taxable value that the county uses to tax your property. And so that is really nice. And the second benefit is your taxes can't go up more than 3% per year.
Correct.
Whereas like an investor or snowbird is what?
Well,
it goes up with.
It can go up, but you know, my experience in Chicago, they could raise it as much as they wanted. And in downtown Chicago, we had a property that in 4 or 5 years went up over 130%. Our taxes did. So we started out at $900 a month.
No wonder why all those people are coming down
here. I mean, and it is a huge difference. I mean, it was $900 a month when we first bought the property. By the time we were selling it, we were paying almost $2,300 a month in property taxes. It's that's a huge $1,400 a month hit that you're taking, and you're looking around and saying, well, gosh, what did I get for my money? Well, not much.
Well, it's gotten worse up there, but
it's helped us down here. But you know, so here you have only a 3% increase. And that's on your taxable value. So keep in mind that like once that's set, you're not going to see huge increases in your taxes in the entire state of Florida if you're buying here. So that's a huge protection.
Huge benefit. And the other thing kind of going along with the financials is no state income tax. We still pay federal, national income tax, but no state tax. I was actually reading today on social media, Frederick, what's the guy from $1 Million Listing, Frederick Eichlin.
Yes.
Was he in New York or LA?
He was in New York. He started in New York and he went out to LA.
He actually, so he's renting his California home and moving his homestead to Florida due to schools for their kids or something. I was like, I don't think
it's probably because of tax benefits.
I'm going to read between the lines here and take a stab at it being for lots of these other financial reasons.
Right. I mean, it's a large difference, especially when you consider in California and New York, there are certain counties and cities that you have taxes on top of that. So you have your state income tax, your city income tax, and your county income tax. If you're in San Francisco, that can equate to like 12 or 13, 14% in income tax. That's coming right off the top of your income coming in the door.
And also, didn't California, I know, sorry California, but you guys have a lot of
taxes.
Monetary cons. Didn't they also pass the mansion tax where they tax you even more over $5 million? I mean, like, how do these people end up affording it? Well, they're coming here.
They're moving.
And there's a reason why 1,000 people net per day are moving to our state. And actually, Sarasota, did you know, is the #2 city in the country where people are moving. So look, I mean, you could see from the videos, from all the videos that we do, our lifestyle videos, things to do, not just the beautiful beaches and our top beaches in the country, but all the cultural events and the sporting events, and our beautiful downtown is growing and exploding so much. The boating. I mean, so there's a lot of other reasons they're coming.
Well, and we're growing. You know, I look back to when I grew up in Venice, just south of here, and you know, when I was growing up, there really wasn't, you know, there weren't any sports. It was very quiet. You know, we had beaches, but there wasn't any, you know, theater or music or opera or concerts. We have all of it. We have everything now.
People are coming from New York to the theater for the weather and the opera, which I learned over the last couple of years. So it's just a lot of, we could keep going on and on.
Yeah, there's a lot. This
could actually just be all pros with no cons.
Right.
But let's talk about one con, which I have a full video. I've got a couple of videos actually about insurance.
It's a huge con.
So watch those, but
that's a huge con. And we're having a hard time. A lot of insurance companies, if you went back 3-4 years ago, there were a little over 60, 65, close to 70 insurers. We're now down to around 20 or just over 20 insurers.
Yeah.
And a lot of those, if it's not top of the line, brand new roof, they're not going to write. And so what you're really left with is about 8 to 10 insurers in the state.
But I've heard that some are coming back and they're slowly migrating back into the state. So that's good. You know, we like to have options for our clients. We do have, now this is a con, but of course we do have some really exceptional insurance agents, one of which is my neighbor, Brooke Dullison. So ask us for all of our preferred local insurance vendors. That's huge, especially on a roof that's older. I know it's a challenge to find, and the costs are just astronomical. They've gone up. And island side, because we do a lot of island properties.
We do.
So it's just something that, you know, you have to have a experienced agent and an agent that's got quality people around them. Yeah,
and my dad owned an agency in Venice. He's got a ton of contacts. So we definitely have vendors and people that can help you. Brian Bryson is somebody I've used in Venice. You know, we certainly have people that we can connect you with here in town.
Don't let it scare you. There's also, you can assume some policies, namely the FEMA flood policy if you're in a flood zone. Some policies are assumable, which will help you save a little bit on the transaction and also just ongoing. So there are ways to sort of get around that when possible. All right, number 3, a pro is traffic off season.
Only off season. Off season, it's great. I mean, obviously, a lot of our population leaves as soon as it starts to heat up,
and we like it.
And it's a lot easier to get across town. You know, obviously, we still have the beaches and everything. Of course, it's really hot, but that's definitely a pro, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you see a dramatic difference getting from one end of town to the other in the off season.
Especially from our office. So we're like of course, we're on St. Armand Circle, which is on Lido Key, which is one bridge away from downtown. But if you don't leave here during season until like 3 o'clock even,
you might as well stay at the office.
It might take us 45 minutes to get over the bridge.
Right.
or longer. I mean, it's like, and then on the way in, you're like, dang it, because you know, the people coming back on the island at 4, it's like there's free flowing. So yeah,
your con is on season. If you're trying to get out to the barrier islands during season, especially if it's,
I'll pray for you,
the week before Christmas, the week after Christmas, and the week of New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
If you own a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th home here in Sarasota, almost guaranteed you're here during that time, which means our population is that's as busy as I think it gets. And so you really will see it's really hard to get on and off the islands. If you're trying to go to one of the public beaches and park during that time, good luck.
You just have to put on a whole mental hat. Or if you do live here full-time or part-time, you kind of know the patterns. So you can leave earlier and avoid that. If you don't have to commute for work reasons or whatever, there are ways around it. You can plan accordingly, and especially if you're used to it. Or if you don't, ask one of us and we'll be happy to share it.
I think something that you just said was very key. I've noticed that if you get up around 3:30 or 4 o'clock and it's season and you're out here on St. Armand's, you might as well stay in the office until 6 or 6:30.
I'm telling you.
All you're going to do is sit in your car anyway. So you might as well just wait until it clears up and then drive home afterwards.
I thought I was being slick by staying here at the office until 6 p.m. one night, and this is in season, of course. And I was like, I'm so smart. Well, I get out of the parking ramp, and the parking ramp is still full. So I was like, this is not a good sign.
This is not a good sign.
This is not good. And so it could take me an hour to get home, which is like, I don't live that far. I live maybe 10 miles from the office, but you know, I think these are small prices to pay. Small.
Like, we really do live in a beautiful place. Like, and it's, you know, we have a ton of benefits, a ton of pros are, you know, the financial benefits, sure, but it's also really beautiful.
Like, there's no state or city or area that's going to be perfect. There's going to be pros and cons.
Everywhere.
I personally, you know, I don't know where else I'd want. I mean, the only other thing I would probably want is maybe a place in the mountains or somewhere like I can go to.
Well, and I think even some of our minor cons have always been like, we don't have amazing like boutique shopping. That's all changing. It's all coming.
You guys, Ocean Prime is coming.
It's coming
downtown.
There's rumors that some of the downtown condo buildings that have like the first floor, that have that first floor, you know, commercial space, that a lot of the boutique shops are going to be coming into those spaces.
Hermes, maybe.
Hermes, Chanel, Yves Saint Laurent.
Chanel.
So
you had me at Chanel.
I know, that would be a problem.
I mean, not like you know, you walk in there and everything is super expensive, but it's a staple, and it says something about the community. It says something about the city. You know, and you go to certain places like Palm Beach that have Chanel, and these are staple things, like iconic brands like the Ritz-Carlton and the St. Regis that are now all here, the St. Regis. And we could go on and on and on
about the pros for sure.
But you know, we are here to help you with all of your real estate needs.
Absolutely.
No matter if you're what counties?
Sarasota, Manatee, and Charlotte are the counties.
We love Manasota. We've been doing more on Manasota Key. Really, really love that island. We love all the islands. I mean, anything touching the water especially. But we also do Lakewood Ranch. We also do out east. You name it. We don't want you to feel like we just do luxury either, although, you know, we do a lot of luxury, but ask us any questions. I know people have different circumstances of selling. Maybe, you know, you've expanded your family. Maybe there's, you know, sadly a divorce or a death or things like that. Sometimes elderly want to move closer to their kids. There's all kinds of reasons. So we want nothing more than to provide you with accurate information, guidance, advice, whatever you call it.
Absolutely.
And a truly informative equity position on your property. This is the most money that you'll have in one, you know, real
one
estate
asset, generally.
Biggest asset. And we want to ensure that you're being very well taken care of throughout that process.
And you can reach us at Andrew Reese on my cell phone number at 941-586-2460.
And mine is 941-544-7690. Thank you for watching, clicking, subscribing, sharing. Please click that link below, shaylatwit.com.